This is QRAZ.
Crazy Radio.
And we have Doug Mauger in the house, who has got a lot of stuff he wants to talk about.
I sure do. And I've got to say it one more time. I have studio envy. I love what you've done with the place. I told you earlier, I tried to do something similar, and it's just not the same.
You could have one just like this.
I'm sure I could for a price.
You could have this one for a price.
We'll talk. This would be a good time for me to point out I got the Crazy Radio starter pack here. I got a little sticker. I got this one-of-a-kind hat. Can you see this right here? Where is it at? There it is. And from what I understand, this same type of thing is going to be available to the public one of these days.
Yes. Anytime. Just
when I get the Crazy Radio koozie.
Hit me up.
Love it. Love it. Well, yes, we got a lot to dig into tonight, and it's all local, and it's all important, in my opinion. And you're going to hear some things tonight. It's not in the news yet. Oh, Crazy Radio sticker, yeah. It's all local, it's all important, and some of it's news stories we're working on. Tell you more about that in a little bit. But I had a couple of comments here before we get into this local stuff, just at the national level. I had some thoughts today. Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney in the Trump case. I found this a bit ironic that he is famous for converting felonies to misdemeanors. He really is. But in the Trump case, he's converting misdemeanors to felonies. Just some food for thought. The other thing that I find very interesting is they want to ban TikTok. Had you heard about that?
Yes.
So, and they say it's a Chinese platform, which it is. I guess Chinese app.
I have mixed feelings on that.
I do too. But here's the irony I thought of today. Yeah, that may be true and all that, but I find it ironic that is the only social media platform out there that our government has zero access to the inner workings of it. Just think about that for a little bit. Just food for thought.
We got 15 viewers.
15. Hello, 15 people. We're glad you're here. So we promised to talk about the wind farm, the proposed wind farm. And I'm going to start with the history of it. And one thing that I find very strange is that you have to tell people maybe 5 times before they actually hear it. So back in January, I got wind, pun intended, that the Butler Airport Commission got a letter from the FAA asking for comment about this proposed wind farm. And I've got a copy of the letter. It was actually in an email that I got, and with it was a little picture showing where the wind turbines were going to be and all the information about it. And they wanted the Airport Commission to comment on it. What I've come to find out is that's really was just a formality. The FAA, we got to send this letter out. We got to do this. It's protocol. Because it really didn't mean anything. From what I understand, the letter got returned with comment that, hey, we'd sure like a couple of those turbines to be a little farther east. Well, anyway, in this letter that was sent to them, it showed that there were 53 proposed wind turbines that to the top of the tip of the propellers would be about 700 feet. So that's pretty big. You know, your average water tower is 100, 150 feet. So these things are huge. You've probably seen them in southern Missouri or, Texas, southeastern Oklahoma. Kansas. Absolutely. So I'm looking at this going, boy, this is big news. I can't believe we haven't heard about this before now. 53 wind turbines encompassing about 40,000 acres. And that's a lot. So I read through and I see that the name of the company behind it is Harvest Ridge Wind Farms. And there, of course, there was no contact information. It was just a reference to the company that was behind it. So I went to the Bates County Commission and I said, what can you tell me about this? Yeah, we're aware of it. They've, talked to us and this kind of thing, and they're proceeding. They're moving ahead. And that was kind of the end of that. I did find out something that obviously Bates County is not zoned against anything like that.
Or anything else.
anything else. And I'm going to throw this in real quick. I did find out that Lynn County, Kansas, and I'm going to confirm this, has an ordinance against wind turbines.
Good.
So somebody was thinking, I guess. So I met with commissioners right then, and around the 1st of February, I think it was around February 6th, I put out a little story in the paper and online. It was called, "Is Proposed Wind Farm Hot Air?" And I put it out there. I put it in the paper, and some people saw it, but it didn't get any traction. And something I've learned is don't put news out on a Friday or late in the week because people are going to miss it. Definitely don't do it over the weekend. They're going to miss it.
That's the reason they put a lid on it, the White House.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I put that out in the early part of February. And since then, I've been trying to get a hold of somebody with Harvest Ridge Wind Farm to get a status update or something. Nothing. I Googled, obviously, their name, and I went to, I found that one of the first things that came up in the Google search was Harvest Ridge Farms out of Houston, Texas. I thought, okay, maybe that's the parent company. I actually found a phone number from them, and I called them. Oh, don't know anything about it. Okay. So I kept going, and I found one that was over around St. Louis, Illinois, that area. And I called that Harvest Ridge Wind Farm, and don't know anything about it. Okay. And if you Google it yourself, you're going to find a whole bunch of things, but you can call like I did, and you're not going to find a lot of information. So, excuse me, we'll fast forward a little bit. I finally came to the conclusion that I probably ought to go to the Recorder of Deeds office and take a look to see what kind of activity there is on leases. Well, I typed in Harvest Ridge Wind Farm, and Shazam, 110 entries came up. I will say this, the 110th one is something that has to do with the United States Treasury that must have to do with their paperwork. So there were 109 leases as of last week where someone in Bates County signed a lease for this wind farm that's going to be located northeast of the airport. And generally, if you look at the map that I put online and in that February 6th edition, it's generally east of Passaic, and it goes quite a ways. Obviously, big deal. 53 turbines, going to cover a lot of ground.
That's a lot of acres.
Yes, it's a lot. So anyway, I get to looking through the leases just to see what they were. And I will have to say this, a handful, and I would say less than 10, were leases for the wind study towers that we'd talked about in the past. Little orange towers that they put up. There were several out in that area. There were a few down in South Bates County. They were kind of all over. There was one out here by the water tower on 18, west of Adrian. There was one over by Merwin, and they had the little anemometers on them. They were pretty obvious what they were. So a handful of them were the study towers. So say now there's 100 leases there that actually had something. I started looking through those, and I found that a lot of them were maybe where you might cut through the corner of a property for an access road or buried cable, something like that. And then, of course, there's the others that would actually have the property where the turbines would stand. And I haven't looked at all the leases yet. I'm going to go back in about a week and see if there's more. These date back to 2017. So this project has been ongoing since 2017. It started in the fall of 2017. The first lease was signed.
But nobody knew anything.
Nobody knew anything. Well, the whole cloaking thing, if you will, gets a little worse. And I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Well, if you don't know, you can't organize against
That's right.
it.
You can't you don't know to ask questions. You don't know anything about it. So it's been there since 2017. It's been in progress, and the latest lease signed was in January of this year. And the so far what I've told you is in this week's edition of the Mid-American News Shopper headline story. I also put it online. Yeah, little punky paper here. Which, by the way, that's why I'm not running on all 8 cylinders tonight. I got like no sleep last night. My favorite youngest daughter decided to treat me to the John Mellon Cougar Camp concert. That's what I call him. at the Midland last night. It went really late. It was a great show, by the way. The guy's like close to 70. It was a great show. And I got home a little after midnight. Then the storms rolled through, and I had to close all my windows. Then I got up very early, and I delivered 11,400 of these. So they're out there, folks. Go. They'll be in your mailbox, huh?
You forgot me.
I did forget you. You're going to get one, though, I promise. Give it back tomorrow. And I also put the news story up on Mid-America Live, and now it's gaining some traction. Now people are starting to see it. This very story that's in the paper is online right now. So if you haven't seen it, go to Mid-America Live website and just type in Harvest Ridge, and the story will pop right up in the search. And in the time since that I looked for the leases, I even prior to this, I'd been trying to find out, who do I talk to? There's got to be a contact somewhere. Well, I finally found it in the lease information. Her name is Martha Long. She's a certified Missouri notary who has notarized I so far all the leases that I looked at. And she's a ghost.
She's their notary.
She is their notary, correct. She's a ghost. I also finally found an address for Harvest Ridge Wind Farms, and I put it in the article, and it's on the article on the website, but it's in Lenexa, Kansas. So I actually typed that address into Google, thinking that surely their contact info will come up if they're, anything at all. I mean, if you put in somebody's real address, everything about them is going to show up in Google. Nope, it just shows up in an industrial park in Lenexa, Kansas. No phone number, no email, no contact info. So right now, my focus is Martha Long.
They're really staying under the radar.
They are. And it gets worse, so you'll find that here in a minute. So I'd actually Facebooked Martha Long, and there's a lot of Martha Longs on Facebook. I was hoping that maybe under the information that, she would, if I found her, it would say that she works for Harvest Ridge or something. Yeah, still no luck. And like I said, there's literally thousands of Martha Longs on Facebook. So I'm not giving up on finding her, because right now she is the only node, the only possibility I have to find some real information about who to talk to. And that's about where I'm at with this whole thing. 53 turbines, east of Passaic. And I did visit with the commission again this morning about something else, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I want to emphasize to everyone that if you're opposed to the turbines in Bates County, there's not much you can do about it. We have no ordinances. If the landowners agree and the companies agree, they're coming.
There's a cautionary tale there for the landowners.
So, as I'm searching, I find a plethora of Facebook groups and even a couple of websites that people have put together that are unhappy with their leases, and predominantly on the Kansas side.
They left the landowner responsible for everything.
Everything.
I mean, literally, if one of those falls over.
Well, everything. And I read through some of them, and it's simple stuff. Somebody's $1,000 drone gets chopped up. It's the landowner who is responsible for that. That's who they go to. You sign away your litigation rights. I'm saying this only because I hope that the 109 people that signed leases, minus the study towers, I hope that they read the fine print. I hope that their attorneys looked at that, because based on what I found going on in Kansas and even southern Missouri, some of those groups were down there, these people were very sorry, a lot of them were, that they signed leases with these wind companies. That's just a word of warning, Hopefully you looked. And I invite people to go on Facebook and look. If you just, like what I did, type wind farm into the search bar, you're going to find the groups. They're going to be out there. If you Google them, you're going to find some of the web pages and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Getting ready for tonight. Yeah. I did some Google searches, and of course, a lot of those are the companies that are running them have obviously done some work to get their pages at the top of the search.
Absolutely. And when I'm searching through the leases on the Recorder of Deeds computer, something else popped up, and it was Autumn, and I can't remember the exact name, Autumn Wind Farms, I believe, Autumn Wind Farms LLC. And I realized something when I saw that. I looked up them, and it shows Harvest Ridge to be the parent company for Autumn Wind Farms. My point to all this is that they seem to just bury themselves very deep.
I mean, shell companies.
Exactly. I mean, it makes it very hard for anyone to find any information, and I got to believe that's by design. You know, I would like nothing more than to go out and research something like this and people be transparent, but you know, it doesn't seem to be. And again, I'm just saying, I'm firing a warning shot to anyone who's thinking about signing a lease, or you should look into it. Have your attorney look at it, because it may not be what you think.
You're going to want an attorney to go over it with a fine
comb. You would think.
Don't just sit at the kitchen table and.
Oh yeah, I want the money. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. I really would like to talk with the representative to find out more. They're probably not going to tell me, so I've had to do some speculation. And I have to admit, in the articles that I'll be putting out, I'll make it clear that I'm speculating, but it's just based on common sense and logic and all that I've done. That, for example, what does it pay to have have one of those on your place? Well, if you Google it, the national average appears to be about $8,000 a year.
Which isn't that much.
It doesn't seem like that much. In this case,
when you consider they're going to cut roads,
oh yeah,
pour pads,
yeah,
and have access rights to your property,
absolutely,
24/7.
That's right.
$8,000 ain't much.
Yeah. Now that's just the national average, so I don't know if this project down by Passaic is going to be that or not. But at that, 53 turbines and $8,000 a pop, that's over $400,000 a year. That's just for the turbines, and then whatever other smaller amounts they'll pay out for the little access roads and places they're going to put cable and that kind of stuff. So it's good. They're going to be paying out a lot of money. A lot of money, actually.
Where's it coming from?
Well,
are we subsidizing this?
Yes. Now, I wasn't really up on the whole thing about turbines. I know that what they look like, and I've heard about them being on fire and all that. So I just start reading what comes up in the Google search, and I start branching into some other areas about, the fact that I'm not going to get into the whole thing about whether I like turbines or not. But I will say, personally, I'm not for it. To me, they're blight in our county. To me, that's what they are. That's just my personal thing. I don't want to look.
They're ugly as hell.
Okay.
And there's alternatives now.
Well, there is. We're going to talk about that here in a second too. But in just branching off and looking about wind turbines, it sure seems to me that there is subsidies involved. I didn't think that wind turbines, I had heard for a long time that there's really no return on investment with them. That it costs so much to put them in and all that, and what you get out of them, that your return on investment is way out there, if ever. I did quiz somebody that I thought would know something about this, and that is Jana Rozier at Osage Valley. And she says, yes, there is. So if anyone thinks that, and I'll take her word for it, she explained it to me and I won't go into it right now. But if anyone thinks that they really just don't produce any, well, they do. They do.
Well, they make electricity.
But due to the fact that they're subsidized, that it kind of dampens the whole thing, if you ask me. If you put one up and it really, really was efficient and really made money, great. Subsidies kind of change that, in my opinion. That's everything I know about the turbines, folks. 53 of them, and it looks like it's going to be reality.
And we're going to pay for them.
Yeah, one way or another, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Which brings me to my next subject, which is solar panels. We went through this in Arizona City. I bet you did.
And again, the people had no say. They had all kinds of meetings with the county commissioners and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
It was a done deal before the meetings.
I'm sure it was. And in this case, it appears to me, though, this was a done deal a long time ago. And I'm upset that we didn't know about it. Not that we could have done anything, but it's been going on since 2017. And did we know? No, not until recently.
Now it's 23 now.
Exactly. So we will talk about the solar panel projects in Bates County real quick. I was actually at the commissioner's office this morning. They had a meeting with Nextera, hence the hat. Thanks for the hat. They are a company who is wanting to do a solar panel farm. Actually, I found out two of them, one south of Amsterdam and one north of Amsterdam.
That takes a lot of acres.
Well, it would be about 3,500. I'm going to get more information about that, but it would be about 3,500 acres.
At least Arizona City, they did this, and they put them right on the edge. Actually, in properties zoned for houses.
Oh, wow.
They got them rezoned.
So they could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I've thrown this out for public opinion, and Facebook started to get really busy with, you know, people. In fact, I'll just say it in general, people are against the wind turbines here in Bates County. I mean, across the board. I haven't really talked to anyone who's like, hey, I think that'd be great. I mean, people get into, well, you know, they chop up eagles. They chop up birds. Yeah, I get it.
We're going to lose red-tailed hawks and eagles.
Yeah, owls, things that are protected. And they're, you know, so these are the feed. I'm just saying all this because this is the kind of feedback that I'm getting. In general, people don't want them here, but folks are going to come whether you want them or not. And, you know, as part of my research about turbines in general, I believe the average was about 600 gallons of hydraulic fluid in each one. People seem to find that ironic.
They make a glorious fire.
A glorious fire that you can't put out because it's so way up there.
Yeah, I've watched it.
I've seen one burn south of Wichita. I saw it smoking.
I've watched the blades come tumbling down too.
Oh, wow.
You do not want to be under that.
I'm sure you don't want to be anywhere near it. And I did find out some things, and I'm just throwing out stuff that I found as I've been researching the turbines, folks. I'm not advocating for or against. I want to throw the facts out there as I know them. And, you know, I guess that a lot of them catch on fire because they have brakes on them. So if the wind starts blowing too hard, they break the propellers. These things are huge. They produce a lot of torque. So the brakes are, you know, they get hot, like on trains or cars. And when that happens, they get hot, and that's generally why they catch on fire. Generally.
And they also seize up.
Yeah, they do.
And bearings go bad.
Things do happen, and
it's in it like any machine.
Absolutely. They have their problems.
Things happen.
Back on the solar panels. So the proposed solar panels with this company, Nextera, that I talked to this morning, be two solar farms located near the Kansas, right? Well, like I said, south of Amsterdam and just north of Amsterdam. And some things really started clicking with me this morning when I was talking to them. They are proposing it over there because it's close to what? Lacey Power Plant, which is what? A connection to the grid. Okay, that makes sense. They need that infrastructure there to get it out. Basically, it makes it easy to, we got to put a few substations and we go online.
They need a distribution center.
They do. Which answers a question of why put this wind farm where it's at, where they're going to propose it, east of Passaic. Connectivity to the grid where the Montrose Power Plant was connected to the grid. Now it all makes sense. On the solar panel project, it's 500 megawatts. How much is that, you say? Well, by contrast, the Lacey Power Plant is about 1,500. So it's about 3 times as much, which surprises me a little. It's more than I thought it would be. I mean,
that's a lot of panels.
It seems like a lot of panels. I asked them for a scope of the project. No, not yet.
Well, somebody's got to clean those panels.
Oh, yeah. They got to.
Somebody's got to mow.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, this is in its. I want to say this to be very clear. This solar panel project in Western Bates County is in the infancy. It's at the very, very, very beginning. NextEra has been in contact more with the commission than anyone else has. There's another company or two that's talked to them, but that's just kind of where it went. NextEra has been on top of it. In fact, when they came today, they brought 2 representatives and their attorney.
Well,
they're ready to move forward.
And Texas has found out how.
What's that?
Texas has found out how dependable solar and wind can be.
I see.
Remember them having.
I'm very well aware.
They had winter.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to be very clear. I'm all for green energy. And I'll say it, and I can simplify it this way. If an electric car was affordable and as versatile as a gasoline car, I would have driven one here tonight.
If
honestly,
you could get in it and head from here to Tucson.
Absolutely.
But you'd be stopping every couple hundred miles for hours.
So we can only hope that battery technology gets better.
Charging.
I mean, lithium ion's going to have to go away at some point because the fires are hard to put out and it's expensive. And hopefully they've been talking about a water battery now.
Water, salt.
And then I saw something just the other night on YouTube, some kind of, you put it, it's almost like putting gas in your car, but it's this liquid and it charges the battery when you do that. And I thought that's kind of cool. The problem with it is it's about 1/10 as effective or powerful, as lithium. So I'm just saying, I'm all about it. It just needs to be affordable.
I think we're premature.
I believe so. And I've had discussions with people that are very pro green energy, and they say, well, we've got to start somewhere. And I totally agree with that. Yes, we got to start somewhere. But I don't know. I'm here tonight because of the backlash that I've been hearing about turbines in Bates County. And I just wanted to inform everybody of what I know and where we're at with it.
And letting people know we're going to get them no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's a done deal. We're screwed.
Yeah. Now, I would love to have a conversation with the Harvest Ridge Wind Farm people so they could tell me more.
Well, let's extend them an invitation to come here.
We're watching right now.
We'll put another mic up.
Right. NextEra, when I talked to them at the commissioner's office this morning, they were very forthright about a lot of things. The commission, they've been on the commission for a while to move forward on the solar panel project over there. And the commission, I won't say is dragging their feet. They made it clear today that they don't want to make any mistakes, that their other counties have, hey, that sounds like a great idea, let's roll. And they brought up some really good points. And I'm paying this as homage to the commission because they were really putting some thoughtful things out there. For example, one of the questions that they brought up with NextEra is that if whoever owns that land now sells it, what happens? Okay, well, it by contract, it'll get transferred. Okay. But another more important question, in my opinion, was, what if NextEra sells to Evergy or somebody else?
Yeah.
Do the agreements that NextEra made with the county, will they carry over to...
For the length of the contract.
That is correct. Actually, for life or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I want to pay homage to the thought going into it, and they're asking questions. This is, like I said, in the infancy, and it's going to be a while before we see any movement on it. I didn't bring all my notes from that meeting because I haven't actually made a story out of that yet. I'm going to soon about that solar panel project, and it's going to answer a lot of other questions. It really will. But that looks like it will happen, and it would probably, if the I's get dotted and the T's get crossed, within a couple of years, most likely. So
we've got bouncing, but 21 to 23 people watching. Now, my count's going to be screwed when I go afterwards.
Right.
Because all I'm going to see is who was on YouTube, how many there, and who was on Facebook.
And then 24 hours from now, hopefully we'll see thousands of hits that people watched it. But
there was almost 3,000 people that saw the announcement. So between you sharing it, me sharing it,
good,
and other people sharing it. So
there's some other facets to all this too. The wind farm project. Somebody put it in these words. These aren't my words. They said it's a great way to dangle a carrot. And that is to put money into the local economy, or better yet, local schools, something. I will say this. As of right now, if the wind farm proceeds, Ballard School is going to benefit greatly.
Yes. And they deserve it.
Yes. But there is, and this is something I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit here because I don't know all the details. This also will be made into a story with all the details when I find out more. But apparently there is something that can be done where that wind farm would benefit all schools in Bates County. And there's forward movement on that.
Good.
So to me, that would help a lot. It would help a lot.
The spoonful of sugar.
Absolutely.
Helps the medicine go down.
Absolutely. Same rules, if you will, or same benefits would apply to the solar farm. And of course, this would all come into play and become visible and known as the project progresses. And there's actually a scope of the project. I asked them for a scope this morning, and they said they don't have one. I thought that's kind of strange. You're here to do what exactly without a scope?
Well, and another thing, there's going to be property tax changes.
Oh, yeah. It.
Well, this is kind of stepping on one of your talking points later.
No, that's fine.
But it will help the townships if we still have them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Oh, boy, howdy.
I have an opinion on that.
Goodness gracious.
Because I've lived in one of the poorest townships in Bates County.
Yeah.
And I've also watched Cass County go through the elimination of townships. Now, I can't tell you what it's doing now.
Right.
But I can tell you when it first happened, it was a big benefit to the poorer townships. It kind of hurt the rich townships.
Right.
But it was a big benefit to the poor townships.
Interesting.
I jumped in the wrong spot here.
No. It actually runs kind of with what's coming up here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the wind farm that I should share with anybody. I'll go over the highlights once again. 53 turbines, east of Passaic. Looks like it's going to happen. Okay. There will be a benefit, a tax benefit, or some type of payout that'll benefit at least Ballard School and maybe all schools in Bates County. Gee whiz. Solar farm, there's actually, from what I understand, there's actually a couple of other, and it's just speculation at this point. Somebody's looking at solar farms in other places in Bates County, primarily the one that I'm pretty sure about is east of Butler somewhere. But one thing that did come up in the commission meeting this morning with Nexera about the solar panel farm was essentially, would there be any benefit to our local grid here? Because people are going to ask this question. I'm going to answer it the best way I can right now. Maybe. You like a clearly vague answer? Maybe.
That was one of the questions we had on the solar panels in Arizona, and the answer to that was, nope, going somewhere else.
Well, kind of like the solar farm in Butler doesn't benefit Osage Valley. It definitely doesn't benefit Butler from what I understand.
They get a better rate if they send it somewhere else.
Yes. And I will clarify that if I'm wrong, but I've been told repeatedly that Butler and Bates County in general does not benefit from that solar farm down there. No. And nor would we from this one or any others in Bates County.
It's going somewhere else. Probably to
Apparently
Oklahoma or
apparently putting electricity on the grid is a complicated process. I don't, me personally, I can't wrap my brain around the idea that, we could put power on the grid here in Bates County and they're sending it to Colorado or Western Kansas. How do they know that? You can't, can you see the electron? Anyway, making a joke.
It's kind of like water flow.
Sure. And it actually very much is. It sure is.
I've tried to explain that to people before.
Yes, very much.
Turning on a light switch is like opening a faucet.
And folks, we're gonna open this up for calls at the end of after I do all my talking points here. That's about it on the wind turbine project. Just wanted to get everybody up to speed on where we're at with that. I know that our local pilots aren't real happy about it, but again, there's nothing to do about it. I did talk to Leroy Cook and a few others that I know, and nobody's thrilled with the idea of these things out there lingering. When you got low ceilings and yeah, I know it's all going to be published. And here's the catch. Leroy brought up a good point. There's at least 2 airports not too far away in Kansas where they have turbines in the same proximity roughly as this one. You navigate around it.
Yeah.
They're living with it.
Over it, around it, whatever.
That's right. As a pilot myself,
I have a little blinking light on them.
Yeah. It's just one more thing to worry about, but anyway, so if you think any more thoughts on all this here in a little bit, we'll take some calls. Briefly want to touch on the election, and primarily one of the big things on that was the ambulance tax. It, as you all are probably aware, failed by nearly a 2-to-1 margin.
660.
I'm gonna
almost 63%.
Is that what it was? I didn't do the math on it.
I did.
Now here's some good news. Where our turnout for the April election last year was shade under 14%, I believe. This year, 25%. People came out this year. And we had some very important things on there. We had the marijuana tax question, and that pretty much passed everywhere. Adrian, Butler County, 3%. Sure, we'll take the money. I hate pot, but we'll take the money. Okay. All right.
62.8%.
Is that what it was? 62.8. Thank you very much. So I'm going to just throw some thoughts out about the ambulance thing real quick. People, for some odd reason, had been asking me, and I have to admit, I kept my ear to the rail, and I still do, just feedback. People on the street, it doesn't matter who it is, I want all the feedback I can get. People ask me, do you think it's going to pass? All the way back to when this was first unveiled, they'd say, well, Doug, do you think it's going to pass? And I honestly answered, no, I didn't think it was going to pass. Mainly because the majority of the feedback I was getting was, not good. But a lot of that came from, people not understanding and knowing. And I'm not going to go into everything. I mean, I've discussed this, I don't know how many times, about the history of how we got to where we're at with the ambulance service. Should I touch on it real quick, just so people, in case they missed something?
I have a question.
Do you have a graphic of the wind turbine project, as in exactly where they're going? Yes, I do.
And
it's
I
on
know
the
it's
American Life website. If you just type in Harvest Ridge, it's in the original February 6th story that I put. It's the little graphic of what the FAA sent to.
I knew it was out there.
It is. And if there's any question about that, I will put that back up again very soon so you can see where they're at. It's kind of low resolution and hard to see. Maybe that was on purpose, but little humor. But anyway, yes, I will get that out there. On the ambulance thing, I had talked to Kay Caskey in the street yesterday. She wanted to know how I thought how it was going, and I had to tell her that I was seeing support for it. Whereas in the first few months of it, pretty unanimously, no. Pretty much unanimously. But I think all their town halls and the outreach they did helped a whole bunch. I think it brought turnout up to 25%, which for an April election to me is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it also got more votes than I thought it probably would. And
it got enough. It made me nervous for them.
well, you know, but so just to be clear, I guess I will briefly touch on the history of where we got to where we're at now and what the alternatives are, just in case. They started the ambulance service in the early 1970s, and back then, 95% of the people they transported ended up staying at the hospital, so they could recoup.
Well, they still had a hospital then.
Well, yeah, they were still, yeah, people stayed there, so they could recoup the transportation cost, obviously, in the hospital stay. Over the years, that's gone to the other end. Now, a high percentage of people they pick up get transported elsewhere. You know, and so I could see where, you know, and Greg Weaver pointed out, and I'm going to get to a point here in a minute, folks. Bear with me. Greg Weaver pointed out in the very first interview I did with him that they recoup 20 cents on the dollar or so, maybe a quarter for Medicare and Medicaid patients, about 60 cents on the dollar for private insurance, and then they can only bill for 100% of the dollar with private pay, but they end up negotiating that often because hey, it's $10,000 bill, we pay $7,000, you can walk away today. So they never get. I get that, I get it, and the current administration at the hospital has inherited an old problem that could or should have been solved a long time ago with an ambulance district. And I think there was a lot of confusion about sales tax and property tax. You know what? I think we'll go down that whole road again at some point.
But I think they approached it wrong.
Well, a lot of people thought that, or they got confused in the process. Yeah. So my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a little breathing space and time to collect their thoughts. And then sometime in the next month or so, I'm going to get back with Greg and whoever else he wants present to say, hey, okay, where do we go from here? What's going to happen from here? Because that's going to be the lingering question, especially for all those who voted for it. Yeah. What's going to happen now? And we're going to pick up and run from there. The reason why I brought up the ambulance thing is that I got blown up over this.
It was your fault.
It ended up being my fault. I got a lot of comments from people. You need to be investigating the hospital. You need to go look into this and see, what they do with their money, and you need to look at all this. Well,
it's a county hospital. The record should be
transparent,
open.
But I want to explain to anybody who wanted me to look into that more why I didn't. It has certainly nothing to do with fear or whatever else I was accused of, or being a pawn or whatever. In fact, through all this, I hope no one could read anything I put out there and know what my opinion was about it one way or the other, because I wanted to be straight down the middle.
You were very even-handed on that.
I tried. And when it comes to some other stuff here in a minute, hopefully you'll see that it was true there too. So my initial thought was, when I first heard about it, was that if they were asking for something and not going to be transparent about it, you bet I would put a flashlight in my mouth, break out a window, and go in and look in file cabinets. I mean, I'm making a joke here, folks, but I would go digging deep. But I will say this: the hospital held what? 4, I believe, town hall forums, 1 or 2 live call-in shows on the radio station. Plus, I did the interview I did with Greg Weaver, the very first one that was done, and they answered questions. And so to the people that thought I didn't dig deep enough, I just want to say this: they had the town hall meetings. I hope you went, and I hope you answered questions, and I hope that if you didn't buy their answer, that you would say, prove it to me. Because here's the deal: a lot of people that were throwing daggers at me saying you didn't dig deep enough to see all this stuff. It was all there, folks. It was all there. You could have went.
I was reached out to.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
To bring them on here.
Yeah.
However, I wasn't as even-handed as you.
I understand.
And they ghosted me.
I understand.
So
my approach
which didn't help them any in my point of view.
I'm sure it didn't. In my business, I kind of take the old Walter Cronkite approach that I report, you decide. I want to throw it all out there. I'm kind of branching off here from what I wanted to talk about, but when you sign up with the Missouri Press, they ask you a question: Are you a Republican publication, a Democrat publication, or independent? I said independent because that's not. I'm not going down that road. I want to go back to the old Fox thing of we report, you decide.
The old Fox.
The old Fox, yes, sir. So hopefully that clears it up as to why I didn't investigate anything any deeper related to the hospital. I didn't see the need to. They had the forums, they had the call-in shows, they had to me in answering questions or being as transparent as they could be. They did it, and I didn't see a need to go any further. Okay, that's just how it works out. That doesn't mean that I won't go digging, because there are some things that are coming up that I will be digging into.
Questions deserve answers.
They do. They do. They absolutely do. So regarding the ambulance thing, that's my next step, is to get with them in a month or so and just say, hey, let's talk about what the future holds. You've had a chance to catch your breath, and what's your plans at this point. Okay, that's where we're at.
That they will not let this drop.
No.
They will come back with something.
They will come back with something. And I've got an inkling of what that's going to be, but I'd be speculating at this point, and I'm not going to do that. They will be back. They will be back.
And the proper approach and give them a better chance.
Yeah.
That's just.
I mean, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we've got two options. If it comes down to having an ambulance in Bates County or not, either, no matter how or anything, if it comes down to that, we have two options. The hospital runs it, or it's done with a ambulance district, which we have one of the very few counties in the country that don't have an ambulance district. That would be funded with the sales tax. And bear that in mind. That's our two options. Either the hospital continues to run it, or someone sets up an ambulance district and a sales tax, and it goes that route. If you want to know more about an ambulance district, go Google it and see what it's all about. It's kind of a whole different deal, mostly supported by sales tax. There was some confusion in one of the town halls that, I thought it was going to be that an ambulance district would also be on personal property and real estate. And it was said in one of the town hall meetings that a lot of them start out that way. That could be, but at the end of the day, most of them are funded with a sales tax. Which, to put that in perspective, anybody driving through town buying a Coke.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to get too deep into this thing. I just wanted to make it clear that I didn't do any more reporting than I did on the whole ambulance issue, because they, in my opinion, were being as transparent as they could be. Okay.
When will you move over to townships?
Let's move over to townships, and life's getting exciting here, folks. If you're not aware, there's a petition circulating right now to abolish townships in Bates County. What does that mean exactly? Well, I'll tell you kind of how it works. They need a certain percentage of registered voters to sign the petition, and it's a little under 1,000. And at that point, they could move forward with basically taking it to a vote. And I don't know even who, and maybe one of our listeners could help us with this. Who is the contact? Who's got the petition right now? Where's it at? What's the status of it?
I haven't seen it.
Well, somebody gave me a name, and that name didn't check out. So I don't know if I didn't hear it correctly or what, but I'm at an impasse there. So basically, that was what it would be. It would take close to 1,000 signatures of registered voters in Bates County. We'll take it to a vote then. Then what happens? The county commission takes over. This is going to get real interesting here in a minute. I talked to the commission about it. I said, what's your opinion? The first thing they said is, well, we don't have an opinion either way. But if we were to take over the townships, this is how it would work. In a nutshell, they would have somebody working 40 hours a week, more than likely in all four quadrants of the county, running road graders and doing what townships do. So they've thought, obviously, that far into it that, yeah, we would take control and we would have to do this. And that's how it would have to be done. In doing this, the county would take possession of all the township assets, road graders, fuel tanks, whatever they got. They take possession of it. That also comes with debt. This is where it gets a little more interesting. And I haven't put this story out there yet. Cornland Special Road District. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
All right. Special road districts are something that are put in place by a few key people to maintain a certain stretch of road in their township. They voted in. It's an official thing. Special road districts. You can Google it if you want the official whatever. But this one in particular is very interesting. The Cornland Special Road District is in New Home Township, which is south of Butler, west of I-49. If anybody's familiar with where Athol is at, if you take the back roads to Rich Hill out of Butler along the west side of I-49, you'll drive right through Athol, Athol. It's a crook in the road now. There's nothing left. Used to be a town. Anyway, that's where New Home Township is at. So I was just going to go ahead and say it so I don't forget it. If the commission takes over townships, I said they get all the assets, they also get all the debt. This is where life gets interesting because the commission would inherit some debt related to New Home Township and the Cornland Road District. So a couple of years back, when what's her name? Galloway was the state auditor, Nicole Galloway. Someone in New Home requested an audit because they suspected misdoings by certain members of the Cornland Road District. And I'm going to tell everybody where to find this link. I'm going to make a story out of this, but it's very lengthy and it's going to take a while to do this. So someone suspected wrongdoing and they called for an audit. Well, Nicole Galloway did the audit. And they found some things that they thought were questionable. I'm not going to go into exactly what they are tonight because, again, this is it's a lot to read here, and I've got to condense this down to a story somehow. But let me hit the highlights of this. Missouri State Auditor Nicole Galloway released the findings of an audit of the Cornland Special Road District. Taxpayers in Bates County petitioned Galloway's office for an audit of the district, which oversees 12 miles of gravel roads outside the city of Butler. The audit resulted in a rating of fair. They found that 2 commissioners were paid for performing road repair and maintenance work in 2021. Commissioners receiving payments for road services while also serving on the board creates an apparent conflict of interest. Missouri law prohibits elected officials compensation prohibits elected officials from performing any service for compensation other than compensation for the performance of their duties.
Yeah, it's so hard to find people to actually do the work, though.
Correct.
I mean, I've seen other townships struggle with that.
And I'm not going to read all this, but it goes on to say they found other things that were wrong. Additionally, auditors found that the board only held one public meeting in 2021, did not keep an agenda or minutes in compliance with sunshine law, so on and so forth. Okay. The district didn't have a formal bidding policy for bids, obviously, or proposals, anything like that. And so there's some things going on there, folks. Now, if you want to read this article that I'm looking at right now, Google the Cornland. You can just Google Cornland and Galloway and Bates County, and this thing's going to pop right up. And it's under the auditor.missouri.gov website. Besides the few paragraphs I'm looking at right now that roughly outlines what happened with the supposed misdoings, At the bottom there, you can click and see the whole audit, which is 27 pages or something ridiculous. I'm partially the way through it now. If you want to know more, you can go there, click on that, and read it. I'm bringing this up because the cost of the audit was about, from what I understand, about $28,000.
We did an in-depth audit.
Yeah, and the cost of that audit is being passed back to New Home Township, specifically I guess the Cornland Special Road District. I'm not sure how that works. Needless to say, they're on the hook. From what I understand, New Home Township has an annual budget of about $8,000 or something ridiculous.
A lot of these districts don't even have 28 grand to look at.
So I do understand that, being on the hook to pay this $28,000, they can make payments over time, which means that obviously this is going to stretch far in the future.
Way out.
To bring all this together, I'm saying this, folks, if we dissolve the townships, just know that the county is going to absorb that debt. Just so you know, just throwing it out there. If that might come into any consideration you have about voting for it or not or whatever, just know.
Well, they're going to have trouble dissolving the townships.
You're certainly correct. Back to what I said a while ago about feedback, even on the ambulance thing, I got a lot of feedback, negative feedback, that it wasn't going to pass. Township thing, kind of right down the middle.
The problem with that is everybody gets to vote.
True.
The rich townships are going to oppose it, and that's where the population centers are.
True.
The poor townships are going to want it. They don't have the votes. Mm-hmm. It will benefit the poor townships.
It will. And then you can factor in some other variables.
Sort of hurt the richer townships like Butler and Adrian. And
we could almost call it township socialism. Everybody pays for everybody. But anyway, I mean, honestly, some of the other feedback I've heard is that the townships in the far corners of the counties are concerned they're not going to get taken care of, and I thought that is kind of ridiculous. But what I'm saying is people have concerns that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah.
That might affect why they would vote for it or not.
I went through this in Cass County.
Yeah.
I told you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And when it first happened, I can't speak to it in the last 20 years, but when it first happened, it was a boon.
Oh, I'm sure.
For the poorer townships.
I'm sure.
Roads that hadn't seen gravel in years.
Sure.
Got maintained, they got widened, they got fresh gravel.
Now,
but at the cost of some of the ones that were used to getting gravel 4 times a year.
Absolutely.
We're down to getting it 2.
And when I talked to commission, they brought up some points that, for example, you've got townships now that have the one over at West Point, Amsterdam. They've got a nice road grader, top of the line, cat. I have no idea. It's probably $400,000 road grader. I have no idea. By contrast, I saw one the other day right outside of Butler that looked like, Thomas Edison had a hand in building it.
And I was in a township before. We got gravel every other year.
Oh, my goodness.
Every other year. And if a maintainer came twice in a year, we were lucky.
Yeah, I bet. So to put that in contrast,
and what was aggravating was a mile down the road was a township that had money, and we'd be driving in ruts across this imaginary line, and you were in gravel so deep.
Oh, yeah. I find that out. I live in Elkhart, and driving out of Elkhart or around Elkhart and just around the area there, also, it's ruts and potholes or whatever, and then all of a sudden, hey, nice gravel. I ride my motorcycle on the gravel roads, so I watch for the gravel, and it's noticeable. What you're talking about is very noticeable. Yeah. All of a sudden, you're driving on.
Usually, you're crossing one gravel road, and it's on the other side of that gravel road.
Absolutely.
roses and.
Yep. And my point about the maintainer in West Point, for example, that's a really nice one. You know, if they dissolve the townships, that grader obviously would go into the mix. So in terms of being able to have stuff out there, they'll have their choice, obviously, or they'll be pick of the litter when it comes to best maintainers and that kind of stuff.
And the others will be parts or scrap.
That's right. That's right. So 6 of one, half a dozen the other. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's first aware that there's a petition out there to dissolve townships in Bates County. I'm trying to find out where it's at or get a status update or whatever. I wanted you to know what the basics were as far as getting it on the ballot. It's going to take about 1,000 signatures. And I also wanted to just make people aware of how it basically would work, where the county takes possession of everything, including the debt, hence the reference to Cornland Special Road District, $28,000 debt. So we just wanted to get that all out there.
Well, that's a sizable debt.
It is a very sizable debt.
But it's not.
And that whole thing is far from over. I have talked to people who are very mad, very upset about it. And there's a lot of finger pointing going on. I will say this. If you go find the article, as I told you how to get to it a while ago, just Google it. It's on the Missouri.gov website or whatever it is. Find the article and you'll see the names of the people in question. They're on there. So moving on real quick. Another thing that's become a huge bone of contention is the proposed RV park in Butler.
I haven't been up on this.
Well,
is this long term?
Oh yeah.
Okay, no. And so we're talking trailer park.
Well, so Adrian's got one. And I went through all the council meetings for
Archie's got one
for Tim Watts has this one out here.
Yeah.
And I went through the council meetings as they went through all the approval process for him to do that. And he very clearly stated what the rules are, that the vehicles have to be moved on a regular basis. So no pulling them up there and skirting them and putting hay around them and all that stuff and leaving them forever, because they have to be moved to be considered an RV park.
You know, I lived in a model park.
Yeah.
It was RV park with park models.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold and a big corporation bought it and all that stuff. But they had to maintain a certain percentage of RVs to maintain their RV park status.
Absolutely.
If they started bringing in too many park models, they became a trailer park.
Absolutely.
Their tax basis changed.
I'm sure.
And
now you're a resident and all that.
Yeah.
I'm starting here at the lowest common denominator about this whole RV park, just so you know that there are rules about them having to be moved and things like that. There's, you know, the original concept was that, hey, we're traveling across the United States. We're going to find this nice little place to hang out for a few days or maybe a week or a while, and then we're gone. People, unfortunately, have turned them into places to live. Number one concern with this RV park, and it is on the property of the Days Inn Hotel in Butler, right east of Walmart, right behind the Days Inn Hotels where it's proposed. This has been through the Planning Commission. And obviously the council in Butler's talked about it. It went down in flames the first time around. And I believe, I don't remember, his last fall that the same people just were trying to get this RV park in Butler going. They've reapproached it now. And the April 18th meeting for the Butler City Council, which is coming up here, there's going to be a public hearing where they are obviously looking for public comment about this. I'm going to tell everybody what I'm hearing. Again, I'm just reporting, folks. Don't kill the messenger. I threw that story up. I saw where the city of Butler had posted that letter. They have to post that public hearing. There's notice of it. They did. I turned that into a small article. I put it on the website, I believe it was this morning, and I threw it out on Facebook. And wow, go look at the comments. A lot against, a few for.
RV parks have a bad name.
They do have a bad rap. And, I got to pay Tim Watts some homage here that,
well,
through his whole thing, he approached it correctly. And
it's the operators that cause it to have a bad name.
And he was the first one to say that as long as it's operated correctly, it's not so bad. They've got enough to deal with just following the rules. I get that. So anyway, I wanted to make everyone aware that it would be located as you go into on Fran Avenue into Walmart. You'll see it right behind the Days Inn. That's where it would be.
You're going to see an increase in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see some great people. You're also going to see some questionable people.
Right.
And you'll see a lot of the RV parks have started saying nothing more than 10 years old.
Yeah.
Or
absolutely.
If it's more than 10 years old, we have to see it first.
There's mobile home parks that are that way. You can't be older than such. They don't want it. You can't bring in an old trailer, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So, if it's 20 years old and looks like it's new,
mm-hmm.
that's one thing.
Sure.
If it's 10 years old and looks like it's been beat to hell,
right,
that's another thing.
I agree. I do want to address one question that I saw on Facebook after I put that up. There was confusion about where it was going to be exactly.
I have one.
Huh?
I have one of those.
Oh, absolutely.
Something like that. Anyway.
Oh, it hits the spot. Let me tell you what. One of the questions was exactly where is it going to be? Well, the address listed on the notice that the city of Butler put out 100 Fran Avenue, 100 South Fran Avenue. Oh, a cold one. A man after my own heart. I drink a lot of this stuff. It's just carbonated water with a little flavor and no sugar. I guzzle like beer. It's wonderful. And Dale has a cold one. Thank you. So one of the questions was exactly where's it at? Well, I just Googled 100 South Fran Avenue and it shows the Days Inn Hotel.
Yeah.
And then of course there's a big empty spot next to it. But somebody asked, and I just want to answer this question real quick. Is that where the park's supposed to be? There's a little thing called Sunset Park. No, it's farther east of there, just so you know. It's not where Sunset Park would be.
Linda goes to Aldi's in Harrisonville. And sometimes I'll check to see where she is.
Yes.
Just so I know whether she's headed home or not.
Absolutely.
Aldi's on Google Maps is a vacant pasture.
Really? How could they get that wrong? Google's so smart.
They haven't updated in a while.
How is that? I usually, if there's a couple places I go right and get it cheap. Walmart is not the place to buy this stuff. They sell it in 8-packs and they're ripping you off. Or 6-packs, 8-packs. No, order it online. That's what I do. And the poor UPS man or the mailman, I ordered cases of it at a time. It's got to weigh 80 pounds. But I get it a lot cheaper.
They love you.
So anyway, update, RV park, yes, proposed again. This is the second round of it at that location behind the Days Inn. Public hearing April 18th. I urge everyone to attend. I will also be videoing that council meeting as I always do. I do not live stream those because of connectivity issues, so I can them, if you will, so you can watch it after the fact. In this particular case, if you have something you want to say, go to the meeting. Go. Okay?
All right. Are you in the mood for phone calls?
I'm in the mood. I was trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to touch on. That's the gist of it, folks. Hopefully, like I said, I'm running on 2 hours of sleep here. Hopefully that touches on and answers all the questions that...
We haven't taken any live calls in a while,
call.
We'll see if this works.
Hello, caller. Yeah, let's do that whole thing.
So I'm going to put the number on the screen. It's 520-520-373-0783. And for the first caller, be ready for some weird stuff, because we haven't done a live call in a long time.
Well, we've got 2 weird people on this end, so you're kind of doomed. That's all I can say. Again,
if you have questions, it's 520-373-0783, and we'll get you on the air. You can ask Doug all kinds of silly questions.
I'm going to throw in a thought here. I went down the road about investigative reporting a while ago. I brought that up for a specific reason. I get poked a lot in the side from people saying, you need to go investigate this. You need to go do this. You need to go do this. And I'm just going to throw it out there, folks. One of the things that comes up on a regular basis is the situation between the Bates County Sheriff and the Bates County Commission. I could say that backwards so I don't sound like somebody's accusing somebody else. The situation between the Bates County Commission and the Bates County Sheriff. I get blown up regularly that you need to go investigate this. You need to go look at this. I'm not going to say a whole lot other than this. I've looked into some things that I was asked to look into. I didn't find anything yet palatable or worth going after or worth putting out there without making it look like a smear campaign, to be honest with you. That's the risk with investigative journalism, is that you better hope you get something, because you're going to look like an idiot if you don't.
And get it right.
Get it right.
I'm
going to say this
don't
about
put rumors out there.
I know. But I'm going to summarize it with this. That situation most likely is going to solve itself. And it's going to get solved from a higher power than me. It's going to get solved from someone who has way more authority than I do to get information that they need. And, well, it's building. That's all I can tell you.
My understanding is there might be a court case.
Correct.
And that is what I know.
That is essentially what I know. And it's going to escalate, and it's going to solve itself. It's kind of like driving the old car low on oil. Eventually, it's going to blow up.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And when the dust settles, then we'll know what's going on.
Then we'll know.
Maybe.
We'll know it through a rod because it was out of oil. Or in this case, we'll know who was really at fault or what's going on.
Okay. You notice the phone's just ringing off the hook.
It is ringing off the hook. Did everybody give up a survivor on tonight?
We've got 23 people still watching.
Wow. They need some kind of award or something for hanging in this long.
Yes.
Wow.
And 12 likes so far. Again, I'm going to put the number out there. It's on the screen. 520-373-0783.
Just to reiterate a little bit, upcoming stories, there obviously will be more on the RV park coming soon. There's much more coming on the wind farm as I gain access to somebody that knows something. And I'm not giving up on that. Martha Long, if you're listening, I want to talk to you.
She probably won't hear this, but you never know, because we are watched internationally.
That is so cool. I feel famous all of a sudden. I will say something that's kind of funny though. The next era of people that were at the commission meeting today I talked nicely to, and everybody it was all that. I had their names and numbers, both of those people, months ago when I first heard about the solar project. And I called both of them. And I said, hey, just trying to find out a little, status update and all this stuff. And both of them I say kindly, said, we have no comment for the media. And I'm just saying, I was really happy that I got to be face to face with them today.
Hey, you're media.
And when I saw them both and realized who they were, I said, I'm the media. So I don't know if either one of them remembered those phone calls, but I expect the same thing from Martha Long on the Harvest Wind Project when I finally get a hold of her. We have nothing for the media. Now,
I need a press card is what I need.
Well, I you know what? I've got a plan to meet Martha. I've got a plan. And that would be to frequent the Recorder of Deeds office. And I'm starting based on the signatures and the times that I see on these leases and the frequency of it, I might be able to predict what window of time she might be in the recorder of deeds office. So my plan is to kind of follow that, and then by chance I could meet her in the recorder of deeds office. How convenient.
I'll bet you some money on this. I think I got $1. that office.
Mm-hmm.
I bet there's nobody in it.
You know what? I'm starting to go down that road with the whole idea behind this autumn thing factoring into it, and all the phone calls I made that, no, we don't know anything about that. Are you the same company? We don't even know. Harvest Wind Ridge Farm. Is that the company name you have? Yes. You're in Houston, Texas. This name is exactly the same. You're telling me you don't know anything about this, or who I could even contact that would know? We don't know anything about what's going on in Missouri. You can't even tell me somebody that in your organization that would. Somebody does. It's the same damned company.
There's another umbrella corp.
As I'm finding out, yeah. And they do like to have, I mean, I'm going down conspiracy road here, but I can tell you I've seen it before. They like to have nameplates on doors and nothing inside. Yeah, we have an address. We legally have to have, okay.
We're paying rent on this office space, but nobody's there.
Martha Long, if you're listening, I'm speculating now. I'm conspiracy theorying because you won't talk to me. I need you to talk to me. I just want an update. I want to know what's going on with the wind project. Hello. Nobody's calling in? Maybe somebody would type something in. I think between the two of us, we could probably read something here. And
oh, damn. I got a silenced call because they're not in my call list.
Oh, bummer.
I'm going to call them back.
Spam risk? Surely not. It's probably somebody wanting to say an extended warranty. Maybe.
It's busy.
Maybe.
It's a 660-679.
Okay. Cool. That puts it in kind of in the neighborhood, at least,
But it's busy. Guys, I'm sorry. This phone is set to reject calls. There. We got somebody.
I'm trying to think what else we can talk about that's worth talking about in the news.
Can you hear me?
Yes, a little rough, but I think I can hear you.
All right, let me get you turned up here.
Cool, let me get my headphones.
Put your headphones on, man. We'll get Doug ready for you.
All right.
There's Doug. I just had a question on the wind farms. Did anyone see the show that aired on Channel 9, ABC, about 2 years ago on the farm up at King City? And it showed neighbor against neighbor and all the ill effects from the turbines as far as flickering, vibration, noise. If a person watched that show, you could have found out what they're all about. That's just the comment I had.
Well, and I've seen things like that. And they've got an answer for everything. One of my concerns was the noise, because I mentioned earlier that I've not recently, but at one point a few years back, drove up from Oklahoma south of Wichita, and I saw that turbine that was on fire. And when I stopped to look at that, and it was a mile away from me or better, but all the other ones, I noticed this whoosh, 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 whoosh sound. And supposedly,
I've heard a lot of people talk about that.
And they say it drives people crazy.
I've heard of it. I've heard from several sources that disturbs livestock, your cattle. That drives your cattle. Some bad effects from that on cattle. If you think you're going to run cattle around those things,
I hear you.
So I have to farm them, but don't put livestock around.
I didn't say this. Somebody else said it the other day. How are you going to feel when one of them things chops up an eagle?
Yeah, absolutely. Or anything else.
Yeah. And again, go ahead.
Those farms up there at King City, those neighbors have been neighbors their entire lives. They were 70 years old or plus, and they were all mad at each other because the problem with it is you affect your neighbors. You may get the check, but you affect your neighbors, and I don't want to do that to any neighbor.
Yeah.
You'd like to stay friends.
To make some money.
Yep.
And it's not right. But anyhow, I enjoy your show.
Well, hey, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Hey, we got a phone call.
Yes. And if that's the only one we get, we'll just cherish it forever.
Yes,
we'll just
we
like,
may
you know
have
what, we
to.
got one, and
Okay. Do we know the phone's working?
we do know it works. And how many people do we still have online here?
We're down to 18.
Oh my goodness.
You should have a number
We're losing traction.
somewhere up here.
Yeah, I just saw, there it is. Yep, 15. Oops. No, 20.
Oh,
20.
It's going up and down. The 15 is likes.
Likes, right. Well, folks, that's really all I had. I can't think of anything else local that's really brewing. Got an Adrian City Council meeting coming up here. I'll be videoing that one as well. They have their meetings on the second Monday every month.
When they don't have it on Wednesday.
When they don't have it on Wednesday, and then I forget to look and go up there on Monday. And anyway, yeah, we will be videoing that one as well. I'm going to, again, pay kudos to your Adrian City Council. I know, and I certainly don't want to pick on anyone in the past, but I want to tell you right now, you got a great team. You got a solid mayor, a solid board of aldermen, a good city admin.
I've been watching your coverage, and this is not the city council that was here when I was still in business.
I agree.
I butted heads with them so much.
Yep.
One thing I do want to say, and looking at the ballot for Adrian, I was really disappointed that the incumbents were the only one on the ballot.
I noticed that, yeah.
Nobody, why even bother?
Well,
So we need to make sure that next year the other council members are coming up.
yep.
Somebody has to run.
Well, as soon as you said that, it made me think that people obviously are satisfied with who they've got.
They don't have a choice.
Maybe but it made me think of one thing. Jim Platt. Jim Platt has been tax collector in Bates County for a long, long time. That's going to be a tough seat to fill.
Yeah.
That really is. I'm going to bug you one of these days, Jim. When are you going to actually do this? When are you actually going to do that? But I've had a lot of people say, "What do you think's going to happen when Jim Platt retires?" Well, it's going to be interesting. I'll give you that much.
If nobody runs against them, you don't get a choice.
Oh, and that deal, yes, absolutely.
There's no point in having a ballot if you don't have any opposition.
I totally agree.
I almost wrote your name in.
You know what's funny? So you can actually get the write-in stuff. And I was honored that up there with Mickey Mouse and Daffy Duck and all that, people had actually written my name in on things over the years. That was like, you know what? I'm honored.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been for Rich Hill School Board or something silly, but they wrote my name in.
You could have been the dog catcher.
I could have.
Or we could bring back city marshals or...
Yeah, 25.6% turnout on April election. I was really tickled with that.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was, for an off-year April election,
Right.
that's pretty impressive.
It is.
It's still not great, but it's... Here's my thing. If you didn't vote, you can't bitch.
That's right. That is absolutely the truth.
So anybody bitching about it,
That's
first thing I'm gonna ask them is, did you vote?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Now, I'm gonna plug me.
Go for it.
This is QRAZ Radio. We do a regular Wednesday evening show. Next week, we're gonna have who we have it next week? Jenny Reed and Tamara Halliburton. And one of my questions is, are you crazy? They're going to do the MR 340 again.
Okay.
The longest river race in the world. And they're a little bit nuts.
Good for them.
But we're going to get them on to talk about that.
That will be awesome.
That's the only thing I have scheduled at this time.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were discussing a while ago that maybe here in a few weeks we ought to get together and talk about world news and conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Another one I want to get on, and I haven't reached out and touched base with him, is Greg Mullinex.
He would be a riot. Yes, do that.
I need to just reach out and touch base with him. I haven't done that.
He's such a fun guy, but very informative. That would be a good show. I'm serious. That would be a really good one.
So, and there's a few others, and I've offered this to a number of people.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared of the camera. They're scared of the microphone.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
So,
I get it.
and
I have to admit, it was kind of weird doing the video thing because Mom always said I had a face for radio. So
you've been in front of the microphone a lot.
I have.
But the camera's another story.
It is a whole different thing. It's really.
And you can't let it bother you.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it doesn't bother me. I could care less.
Yeah. Well, I watch the weather just about every morning. And then,
I don't have to look at me.
So the thing about the weather is everybody's curious. Are you clothed from the waist down?
It's
early.
It depends on the morning. It's just like now. They don't know if we got pants on
Absolutely. Folks, I know the truth.
But you're not going to tell.
I won't tell. I will not tell.
All right, guys. We've been on here for an hour and 26 minutes.
Wow, that's like some kind of marathon.
It is for us.
It is. Because it's like, 4 minutes past our bedtimes.
But yeah, sneaking up on it real fast. All right.
Well, I hope everyone found it informative, and I hope you learned something out of my gobbledygook that I put out there.
If you had questions and didn't ask them, that's your fault.
Oh, hey, we got a comment here. Found it interesting that townships got their tax levies voted down. You know what? That's a good point. I was shocked at how many went down in flames. And they complained about roads not being fixed. Yes, Mary. Yes.
I'm thinking some of that was because people said they're not doing anything now. What are they going to take the money for?
Yeah. And I got to think it probably got lumped in with everything else. Nobody, the ambulance tax thing and all that. We feel like we're taxed to death. We don't want to pay any more. I probably got lumped in with that. Yeah.
I am not voting for any more taxes.
Well, I had a high school teacher that said never ever vote for a tax, no matter what, because they're going to find a way to get it one way or the other. Seventh grade, I think, was when he told me that.
And the money management, look at national.
Absolutely.
Of course, we don't get to vote on those.
Absolutely, we don't. But I know what you mean.
Actually, we're not. Mary, you are.
Is it cold in your house?
It's internet connection that I have no control over.
Well, we're really glad you're watching and listening. We appreciate that. And like I said, that's about all I've got.
Well,
I'm going to go home and put together my crazy radio shrine with my hat and my sticker and my koozie and whatever else I can get out of here without him seeing it.
Yeah, well, I got a clock up there.
That's a cool clock.
I like that clock.
There's something after I did it that I thought I should have changed, and I'm trying to think of what it was. But it looks all right. It actually looks all right.
And it keeps time.
Which is, it's a $3 Walmart clock, by the way.
That one is...
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's an hour behind because it'll be right next time daylight savings.
Absolutely. I was just thinking maybe you were doing the old thing about, remember on the old news thing where they had London time and New York and all that. You could do that too.
I need Zulu time.
Zulu, absolutely.
You know what Zulu is?
Yeah. It's
UTC.
Absolutely.
So.
And we're what? -5 here now or -6? I can't remember.
I can't remember now. I know that when I was on that island, I was 5 hours different than Kansas City.
That'd be disorienting.
And that's because they bent the dateline around us.
That's
if
weird.
You look how the daylight comes down.
And it went around you.
It goes out and comes back.
That's weird.
We had a saying. We had a few sayings, but
I'm sure you did.
One of them was, on a clear day, you can see tomorrow.
That's probably the truth.
It was.
It was the truth.
We were the second furthest point west that was populated in the United States. The Coast Guard was out a little further than us. And they had 35 guys on an island.
35.
And those guys all deserved a medal. If you're going out in the Bering Sea when the wind's blowing, you deserve a medal.
I bet you do.
All right. I'm going to wind this up.
Wind her up, man.
This is QRAC Radio. We're here every week.
Whether you like it or not.
That's right. And we have an open invitation. If you want to be on, get a hold of me.
Do it.
You can email me at qracradio@gmail.com. And we're out of here for tonight. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.